was going to say it, but hey, is there Pastor Jeff Mitchell here? Come on up, sir, if you would.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am. Why don't we go to God in prayer? Father, we come to you this morning. We thank you for a new day. A new day. Every day that you give us is a gift. We thank you for life. We know that it is fleeting, and help us, oh God, today to glorify you in all that we do. We thank you for our freedom, oh God. We thank you for democracy. It comes at a great price. We pray today for our military, our men and women. Keep them safe wherever they may be. We thank you for the sacrifice they make every day for our freedoms. We pray, Lord, today for all of our police officers, our first responders. We lift them up to you today. Keep them safe. Watch over their families, we pray. We lift up our elected officials today, O God. We pray for our commissioners. We pray that you'd grant them much wisdom from above, that you grant in abundance to all that would ask. We pray, Lord, today that much would be accomplished this morning in this meeting. May you be glorified in all that we do today. And we ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Feltner. Oops, yeah, I forgot to call. I'm now calling this meeting officially to order. We have a quorum. Commissioner Feltner.
All right.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the January 24th County Commission meeting. It's good to have you here this morning. We're going to be having to do a few arrangements with the agenda this morning. So if you have a certain item you want to speak on specifically, make sure your cards are marked that way. But we're going to move the public comment to the end of the meeting. We're allowed to do it in the middle or the end, but we're having to do that because of a few time items. It still looks like it should be a fairly fast meeting this morning, depending on what the commissioners have. So I just want to note that up front. Commissioners, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Zonka.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We're going to move into our resolutions. And I have the first resolution this morning. Miss Inga Young, are you here? Come on forward. If you've got people with you, come on up. Thank you for coming this morning. I'm going to read this, and then we would love to hear a few things from you guys. And thank you for doing this. This is a really wonderful thing for women in the community. Whereas Women in Defense Space Coast Chapter was founded January 21, 2013, and has grown substantially due to the support of both members and community partners. Whereas Women in Defense Space Coast Chapter provides networking and professional development opportunities to promote the role of women in national defense and security, to support service members, and to encourage partnership with the local contractor community, defense industry, and military personnel. Brevard County is a gateway to the wonders of space science and home to industry leaders, and holds a very strong military presence. Whereas starting the Space Coast STEM Scholarship Fund, the Women in Defense Space Coast Chapter has awarded more than $76,000 in scholarships to women in the community who have pursued studies to advance their careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County does hereby recognize and commend Women in Defense Space Coast Chapter for the 10th anniversary of its incorporation. Can I have a motion to approve, Commission?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Zonka.
Second.
Second by Commissioner, I'm going to give it to Feltner this time. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Ma'am, you have the microphone.
On behalf of the Women in Defense Space Coast Chapter, our heartfelt thank you. Our website is scwid.org, and as you mentioned, we have awarded over $76,000 to local Brevard County students pursuing STEM or STEAM college higher education. We really appreciate the resolution.
Thank you. I have a resolution too today, and I'll just read it from here. Fritz, if you'll come on up and stand before us so everybody gets a good picture of you. Thank you. Whereas Robert VanVolkenburgh, better known to us as Fritz, is a dedicated, hard-working employee of District 2, where he has worked as the Chief of Staff since 2018, advising the commissioners and handling hundreds of constituents' issues within the county. Whereas Fritz's vast experience includes work as a ferry boat captain, a freight boat captain, a harbor master, a finance manager for Brevard County, interim auditor, Brevard County Clerk of the Courts, assistant state attorney in the 18th Judicial Circuit in Brevard, management consultant, bank operations officer, and others. I can't imagine many others, but still. Whereas Fritz also serves as a firefighter EMT reserve service with Brevard County from 2013 to 2019. Whereas Fritz is a graduate of the Brevard County Executive Leadership Institute Class 13, and whereas the District 2 office will be at a loss without his organizational skills, his extensive knowledge, outstanding work ethics, and whereas expresses its sincere gratitude for the invaluable contributions that he has made to our district. Now, therefore, it's resolved that Commissioner Goodson, the District 2 staff, and the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners do hereby extend to Fritz VanVolkenburgh our sincere, grateful appreciation of his dedicated service for the county, our congratulations on his election as a Port Canaveral Commissioner, and our best wishes for continued success in the years to come. Done, ordered, and adopted this day, the 24th day of January, 2023. Thank you, Fritz, for your service.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0. As Commissioner Goodson's coming down, Fritz, we'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to say your last name, but I never could get it, so.
VanVolkenburgh.
If you had a problem, Madam Chair, I have. Okay, Fritz, get over
Dressed alike here today. I'd like to thank my agent, of course, and producer, and no, I'm just kidding. To be honest with you, Madam Chair, I pleaded with Commissioner Goodson not to have this resolution, and but he wouldn't listen to me. He hasn't listened to me since I've been a part of his team, but he went from Commissioner Goodson to Commissioner Badson. But no, I think the District 2 office is in great shape. Carenza and Susan and Kika are doing a great job, so I have a lot of confidence in them. My thanks really to staff. Staff has been unbelievable to work with, and I don't just mean the ones that are up here and the ones over my shoulder, but as you know, the ones out in the field and the ones that are in their offices that can't come to these meetings, but they do a heck of a job. So I'm really thankful of that. And finally, I have a gift to give everybody. It's under $25, so you know. No government money was used for it. So, Madam Chair, may I approach the dais, please?
It would be delightful,
All
sir.
right, thank you very much. Morris?
Thank you, Commissioner.
You see the hatch and realize it costs a lot.
How fun is this?
Thank you.
Look like Christine back in her 20s, right? That'll be the, she'll miss her cue, then so moving public comment to the end. Okay. I think we need to.
John, you can wear that to the beach.
I don't go to the beach. There's no air conditioning. I'm serious.
I hear you, buddy. Well, you can wear it in the mountain retreats.
All right, Commission, we have consent agenda. Do you guys have any you'd like to poll in here separately? Commissioner Tobias, I saw you moving.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to vote no without comment on F9.
Thank you, sir. I have two public comment cards on item F1 and F3, and they're both from Ms. Sandra Sullivan. Ma'am, if you would come and address these, I know you're here somewhere. Ms. Sandra? Oh, there you are. Ms. Sandra, if you'd go ahead and come and speak on both these items, ma'am, that would be great. And okay.
Good morning, Sandra Sullivan. The first one is about the FWC contract, and while I appreciate the importance of addressing aquatic weeds, a little background in history. We used to do it via mechanical harvesting up until 2010, when we were in the recession. The governor at that time switched to broadcast spraying of herbicides. Just as a thought, and the goal here is to uptake and remove the nutrient loading from our water bodies. And from the FWC's perspective, some of these plants, they say, are not indigenous. Actually, water lettuce is, but aside. We could have a win-win solution if we mechanically harvested these, because then we would be improving the water quality at the same time. There's enough science out that this is very bad, and that it's time to as we say, push back from the local level up on the state and say, hey, your goal is to remove them. We can remove them better, and we can help improve the water quality at the same time. You also remember, please, that this is being sprayed on our drinking water source on Lake Washington. These are poison. So this is a table I sent you guys of the chemicals that are used. Glyphosate has been rolled back. It's the other chemicals that are important. This is the list of places that we spray. It's not good. I sent you guys data on how amazing water hyacinthus is for uptake of nutrient loading. And this is the safety sheet for the chemical that they primarily use. This is maybe fatal in contact with skin, maybe fatal with contact in skin. These are not safe chemicals. Very toxic to aquatic life with long-lasting effects. That concerns me, along with very toxic to the soil environment. You're talking about some of these chemicals persist in the soils. They bond very tightly for decades. Okay, the other issue is to do with a development. And I'm doing two, so I don't know how that affects my time, but I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
This one came before planning and zoning, and it was, it didn't pass unanimously. It was a bit tight. So to come back and change this one is of concern to me. So Hurricane Ian, we had a lot of flooding. And so the issue here is that this is on a Zone A flood map. This is the FEMA map, okay, that the county is supposed to abide by and not doing development on Zone B, Zone VE, which is coastal high hazard area, and Zone A. This is a special flood zone. So in the letter that went out, it said by the county that the request to replat under section 6.2.2805D, waiving the flood zone limitations. Actually, when you look up that section, it actually says you're not allowed to rezone the flood zone explicitly, okay? So what we're looking at is jurisdictional floodplain in here, wetlands that are not allowed to be developed on. This is a conservation block for this development. This was mitigation for the wetlands already affected. And so I would urge you to say no to this, because to simply put, we have an insurance crisis. And we lost 6 insurance companies to Florida prior to Ian and Nicole. We were already in crisis. We've lost 10 now. Universal is not writing any new policies after May and are looking at leaving Florida. They are Florida's largest insurer. We are in an insurance crisis, protecting the most vulnerable areas that are impacted by hurricanes, that act as a water area to store that water. That water's got to go somewhere. I would urge you all to say no to that particular agenda item because of your own requirements. If you want to do anything, please send it back to P&Z. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, do we have any more comments after the public comment? Commissioner Feltner.
Yeah, we went a little fast there for me. I wanted to vote no on F1 without comment.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with Commissioner Tobias voting F9 as a no and Commissioner Feltner voting F1, sir, as a no?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Zonka, second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0. We are now moving, I've got my agenda here. We're gonna move into item H1. Perfect.
Good morning, Commissioners. On December 20th, 2022, the Board adopted a resolution authorizing the EDC of Florida Space Coast to conduct an economic impact analysis and the property appraiser to conduct the required financial analysis. Both impacts are contained within this agenda report. Item H1 is a public hearing considering an ad valorem tax abatement ordinance for Rogue Valley Microdevices. The EDC conducted an economic impact analysis of the company and has provided the Board with its recommendation as to the extent and length of tax abatement. The EDC is recommending a 70% abatement for 7 years. With us today with the EDC for any questions is Edgar Camp of Halifax, the Vice President of Business Development of the EDC of Florida Space Coast.
Couple cards on this, but I have 2 commission lights. What y'all's pleasure? Would you rather speak first or after? Okay, Ms. Sandra Sullivan? And Mr. Edgar, I have your card here for questions, correct? So I'll call you, there you are. I'll call you up for questions if.
Sandra Sullivan, good morning again. I've come up and I spoke on this issue a number of times over the last few years, so I'll keep it real short. When we're in a recession, I understand the need for tax abatement. You're stimulating the economy. I just don't understand when the Space Coast is literally, just rocketing in terms of growth. Why, when we're in strong growth, why we need tax abatement. I don't think it's fiscally conservative for the taxpayers, especially when our county has so many infrastructure needs associated with our growth that we could really use that tax money so that the taxpayers don't get burdened more. So I know you can't do anything really now on this, but looking forward, I think that ordinance for tax abatements really should be revisited by the county and adjusted to where there is more flexibility, that when we're in high growth, that we're not basically it's kind of like socialism. We don't need to give these benefits when we're in strong growth. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Feltner, is that a new light, sir? No, that's okay. All right, Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a
few questions for the representative from the EDC at your approval. Thank a series of questions, Madam
You
Chair.
have the board, sir.
Thank you. Help me, I apologize, the card is Mr. Halifax?
Council Halifax. Just call me Edgar, Commissioner.
Mr. Edgar, okay. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair. In the executive summary of Rogue Valley Microdevices, or RVM, they state they are looking at Arizona, Texas, and Palm Bay, Florida. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair. The company is in a competitive position looking in Texas, Arizona, and Florida. The only location is Palm Bay, here in Florida.
Great. So, thank you. My question to begin with is, what area, city or county are they looking for in Arizona? And to save time, what city or county in Texas are they looking at?
The company disclosed in Arizona they were looking in the Phoenix area,
Okay.
and in Texas they did not disclose a location.
Okay. Madam Chair, continue.
Please, sir.
Great. So what was the tax abatement offered in because the Phoenix was not in the packet, as you're aware. What was the tax abatement for either the city of Phoenix, the state of Arizona, or whatever county Phoenix is in? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. That wasn't disclosed. And I'm going to ask the same question, as you can imagine, for the city, the county, and the state of Texas.
We don't have, Madam Chair, we don't have the information from what other states and counties do. States and counties are, operate in a different way than Florida, which, Florida has a Sunshine Law, which requires that, a lot of things become public. So we don't have those. We know that we are in a competitive position with those states, and we don't have those packages from those states.
Madam Chair.
However, normally Arizona for chips is a very competitive state. And you probably have seen in the news, Phoenix has been attracting a lot of microdevices and
Madam Chair,
semiconductors.
I was just looking for a number, and you were clear. You said you didn't have one. So here's my question. The EDC's own mission statement says, and I'm sure you know this, to ensure Space Coast remains globally competitive, we must maintain a keen awareness of the latest industry trend, business intelligence, and competitive advantage. So the question is this. How does the county compete globally and maintain keen awareness, and yet we don't know what these other counties, cities, or states are offering?
Again, Madam Chair, the world in economic development is very competitive, specifically in Texas, Arizona. Our states are very aggressive on economic development, but states work in a different way on packages, and normally they're not public, for public consumption, and it's something that we normally, as we are competing with companies, we're gauging what tools we have available, how we're able to provide a compelling package to locate here, and obviously try to win the project.
So we don't know, in other words, correct?
For this specific case, we don't know.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, in an interview with KOIN6 News, our VM's founder and CEO, Jessica Gomez, stated that, quote, merely throwing money away at a problem without objectives, accountability, or deliverables would not be tolerable. So my question to this, and this is Jessica Gomez is the company that you're shilling for up here. Why would the county, in her words, throw money at RVM without knowledge of any incentives from other entities?
Again, I'm not in liberty of commenting what the CEO made.
Well, that's a public comment, sir. That was made on KOIN6 News. I
Correct,
can play
Madam
it for
Chair.
you.
This is I'm not able to comment on what a CEO, is commenting about other issues or, specifically this deal.
Okay, Madam Chair. Okay, we'll go on. You're the agency that deals with this company, so I assume that you were dealing with the CEO. Apparently, that may not be the case. But Ms. Gomez goes on to say that during her run for governor, she ran for governor, reckless tax and spend policies coming out of D.C. and Salem, it was in Oregon she was running, have left Oregonians worse off. As governor, I'd advocate for a fiscal, responsible budget that funds essential public safety and provides tax relief for everyday Oregonians who are struggling to get by. My question is this: why does this apply to citizens of Oregon but not wealthy business owners in Florida?
Again, I'm not able to comment on what a CEO of a company is mentioning.
Again, the CEO of the company that you're shilling for. But Madam Chair, let me go on. And these are numbers you may be able to, because they were in your packet. RVM's average wage is quite good compared to the 2020 median wage. It's above. But as I'm sure you're aware of, and I've pointed out in the past, these numbers are skewed because there are 6 jobs that have 6-figure salaries. So the question is this: does it concern you that if we remove those, and I'm sorry, I said 6, there are 5 salaries, 5 6-figure salaries, the average drops well below the average median wage?
Again, Madam Chair, on the package that we provided, all the positions are disclosed of what they're expecting or proposing to hire.
I just said that. So let me repeat the question because you're not answering it. There are 30 jobs. 5 of them have 6-figure salaries. If we take out the 5, the executive jobs, and we look at the bulk of the jobs, the remaining 25, they fall below the average, the median average. Does that concern you that now we're bringing in jobs that are below the median and average? In fact, there are 16 of them. Does that concern you? It's
Madam
a yes
Chair,
or a no.
In the ordinance of the county does not stipulate that the high-end positions needs to be removed. So
That wasn't the question. I know this. Does it concern you, yes or no?
that's my answer. In the ordinance of the
Okay.
county does not include
Okay, Madam Chair, he's refusing the answer. That's fine. We'll go to something. Ms. Gomez stated in an interview on 2 News, it's great when you run for governor or any office, there's a lot on the record, quote, "For a struggling family to have an affordable place to live and a good paying job," and then she goes on to say, "is essential." So I've done a little work here. According to Dave Ramsey, a financial expert, you should never spend more than 25% of your net income on housing. So I picked one of the lower jobs, $31,000 gross income. I didn't make this number up. That was what was on the packet that you provided us. That would equate to a net, according to the federal government, of $26,668, federal government. Now, 25% of that per month means that person, who we're incentivizing, we'll get there a little bit late, in a little bit, would have to find rent for $555 a month. So my question to you is, where in Brevard County can you get even a 1-bedroom apartment for $555?
Commissioner Tobias, I'm not sure that that's his,
Well, their job
I'm-
is incentivizing.
I know you're making points, and it's good, so I think we're listening to your points. I'm just not sure this gentleman is the right person to answer that, but we get your points on that, sir.
Apparently, the EDC doesn't. Sorry, I wouldn't want to be up there having to defend low-paying jobs. So you're doing a very good job. I appreciate it, but and I don't. You weren't answering the questions. But either way, thank you for your time. So let me end with this as a closing, Madam Chair. The total abatements between the City of Palm Bay and Brevard County will be $1,048,496. Let me divide that by 30 jobs. We are paying $34,950 per job. That's more than some of the jobs themselves are even paying. 16 of these jobs that we're incentivizing are below the median average. And thank you, Ms. Sullivan. You pointed out the state of Florida. Governor DeSantis just announced that we have an unemployment rate of 2.5%. I don't know if now is the time that we need to be foregoing more than $1 million of tax revenue to get 16 jobs that pay below the median in the state of Florida. I think the better way to do this would the EDC bring us a dynamic scoring where we can look at, based on the jobs that they're bringing on, people are going to need public assistance. How much is that going to cost the taxpayers when people need public housing, when people need food subsistence based on these jobs? If these were six-figure jobs, great, but unfortunately, more than half of these, again, are below the median, and we're giving $1 million for this, and we're competing with other states, as Mr. Edgar said, and they've given us no numbers. To put this in perspective, Mr. Halifax, it's when I go to Vegas and I'm sitting at a 10 and a 6, and I have to make a decision, do I hit or do I stand? But I don't make that decision independently. I look at what the dealers handed me. And you're asking this board to make a decision without knowing all the facts. And the facts that we do know, they're despicable. I'll be voting no on this, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners? Oh, no, that's it. That's all of our public comment cards. Thank you, sir. Miss Kathy, we had a conversation in the meeting, and you had mentioned that during the process you had voted no, but you wanted to give me a little bit more insight right afterwards. Could you please elaborate on what you kind of mentioned, and this is just data in the meeting that you gave us?
The package that was given to us from the EDC had two exemptions, an exemption for real property and an exemption for tangible personal property. And one of the things that I noticed...
Can you pull your mic up?
Excuse me?
Can you pull your mic up?
Oh, I'm
to you?
sorry. Okay. There were two exemptions on real property and tangible personal property. One of the things I noticed was the real property was not owned by the applicant, nor did we have a pass-through letter from the owner of the property that the exemption would actually be passed to the applicant. So I asked a question, does this include tangible as well as personal? They indicated yes. I indicated what my concern was, so I voted no for that. However, when we got the package back from EDC, Ms. Condi and I worked with the county attorney's office to make some changes to the ordinance, which we did. If you look at the fourth whereas clause, it states that they have informed us that they're either going to purchase the property or lease it from the owner of the property. The second change that we made was in section 2C, where we say that we have to get proof that they actually paid or leased and have a pass-through letter that the exemption will actually go to that applicant. So the problem was, where was that exemption going? Was it going to the applicant or the person that owned the real property?
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, do we have any other comments? Commissioner Zonka, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll just say, I understand we need jobs in all forms, lower paying, median income paying, and higher paying. And just as those numbers that Commissioner Tabaya talked about being skewed by the real high wages and the real low wages, everyone has a different education and training level. So I don't even have as much heartburn about the lower paying $31,000 a year job, just because, again, there's someone that needs that job. This is a voter approved tax abatement. I mean, the voters approved this overwhelmingly. So if we want to change it, maybe the commission's job is to bring it back to the ballot or do a better job of informing the public before they vote on something like this. But I mean, I'm going to support it because I believe that all jobs are good jobs, and we are in a competitive market, and we are competing with several states. And to suggest that a private company is going to give us a package, I mean, they're not going to provide that to us any more than any other private business would provide their financials. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Edgar, I see where they're going to make a substantial contribution in capital as well. And those types of things have to kind of stick around once they do it. And I do know that if this doesn't go forward, it just stops anyways.
Correct, Madam Chair. Just to give context, the amount of capital investment that they're bringing, or they're proposing, it's $25 million in new equipment and lease improvements to that building. As you mentioned, the program is performance-based, so if they don't make those improvements, that program basically they don't get anything. In addition, with what county staff mentioned, they're putting another safeguard there with a county incentive agreement besides just the annual report that happens every year. So this program has its safeguards, and again, just in case of companies not performing, that are able to get out of the program and obviously not receive if they don't perform.
Okay. Is there any other micro device industries here in the area?
Correct. There is one company in Palm Bay as well. You might know them. They changed names several times, but they're now owned by an international company named Renesas. So they have about 300 employees, roughly. They manufacture semiconductors, how I understand, and I'm not an engineer. They mentioned for if you have a phone, your power management semiconductor is manufactured by them. If you have a car that you put a reverse, drive, and when you're driving and you have a camera, that semiconductor comes from them as well. As we know, and the pandemic was able to show us here, how semiconductors are crucial for so many aspects of our modern life, and also even for critical aspect of national security, as other countries are having most of that manufacturing, and is now critical for the U.S. to reshore that manufacturing to the U.S. so we have control not only for just modern life but also for national security.
Okay, very good. I'm in agreement with Commissioner Zonka on a few of her items. She had also spoken, well, all her items she's spoken on. And I do know this is our second presence of this type of item, which I think is a real need nationwide. So it's kind of good to get this industry into the area. Commissioner Tobias, sir, your light's on again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I was done, but you asked a question and it brought up Edgar. I apologize. You mentioned another company that did, and I'm going to ask a question that I don't know the answer to. Maybe you do. That has 300 jobs, you said?
Roughly. I don't know for sure how many specifically they have.
My question is this, and you said it switched hands. How much incentives did federal, state, county, or cities provide to that company?
So the company has been in the Space Coast since the 70s. I'm not able to comment of how much support or not they received when they were originally located in Palm Bay. Renesas acquired them later on, so it's, they haven't owned that facility, or the company was acquired later and now is under ownership of that international
So to
company.
the best of your knowledge, they're not getting any tax abatements right now?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But again, I'm not able to comment on what happened in the 70s.
Okay, but right now, they're not getting tax abatements, not the 70s amount
Correct,
today.
not to my knowledge.
Yeah, Madam Chair?
Sir.
Do you find any problems there that these are two companies providing the same service? One were providing more than $1 million in tax incentives, and another one were not?
For what I'm hearing, they're not competitors, and actually,
You just said they're in the same industry.
they're not you could be making automotives, and you could be making BMWs, or you could be making Ford, and you might not be in the same segment selling, the same car. So they do make semiconductors, and they are in the same industry, but my understanding is that they're not selling exactly to the same customers.
Okay. Okay. Either way, I appreciate what Ms. Zonka or Commissioner Zonka said. The voters did approve this, but I think if they would have had the knowledge that we're going to spend millions of dollars incentivizing jobs, and it's not skewed. Let me be clear. It's skewed not because of low-paying jobs. A lot of these are low-paying jobs, and in fact, half of them are low-paying jobs. And to be clear, I've got no problem with a $31,000 job. My first job was $4.15 bagging groceries at Goodings. I was proud of that $4.15. What I'm ashamed of as an elected official, that I'm going to incentivize through taxpayers money that could be going to fire folks, money that could be going to a whole bunch of a host of government programs incentivizing low-paying jobs. There's nothing wrong with a low-paying job. I've had many of them. However, the government coming out at taxpayer expense to bring in low-paying jobs, that's, to be clear, that's what I find disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edgar. Commissioner Zonka?
And I'll just comment that the county has low-paying jobs, lower than the median wage in Brevard County, if we're pointing fingers.
This, there's a mixture of the low and high, and you know, even where I'm at my office, if people come in with the skills, we pay them more. But if you have like someone fresh out of high school and they're trying to find a beginner job, I don't agree with paying them $50,000 and $60,000 a year as compared to people that are already qualified in their industry. If we do that, we're already facing a little bit of a crisis in the nation as far as trying to get salaries with costs going up. And y'all tighten your belts and save your cash what's coming up. I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Zonka. Do I have a second? I pass the gavel and make a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion fails 3-2 with Commissioner Zonka and Pritchett in opposition,
In favor.
in favor of it.
Well.
Yeah, okay, you guys got that, right? We have quite an agenda change today. All right, we are going to go ahead and move to items J. Sorry about that. I just think J's are going to move much more quickly, and I do have a time constraint here right now. So we're going to move into item J1.
Good morning, Commissioners. J1 is a contract that was presented to the county by PMJL LLC. It's for 5041 Martin Lane in West Melbourne. As part of our advanced acquisition for the Hollywood Widening Boulevard, it's in District 3. The appraisal value for the home is $185,000, and the offer, Mr. Cooper from PMJLC has offered $250,000.
Thank you, sir. I do have one card on this. Mr. Cooper,
Yes,
it's you, sir. You have 3 minutes, please.
thank you. I'm trying to make my life a little easier right now. If I waited for the county to take it over in a year or two, unfortunately, my wife has cancer, and that will be the caretaker, and would be a bad time for me to deal with business at that time. Now, the reason we're asking more than the appraisal is I don't think the appraisal was an adversarial relationship with us. I didn't understand the whole process. He wouldn't even meet me at the property. But we do a lot of work with Section 8. A 3-bedroom home for Section 8, I can get $2,300 rent, which we do. We work with foster kids program. We work with the group that has if 2 people on Social Security and one person dies, they can't afford. We work with the helping people on the Section 8 side. For me to buy a house, I showed a realtor's appraisal that we work with, would cost me $225 to $235. So I can't understand the appraisal price. They didn't count it as a rental property. I worked a long time to get to where I am. I just want to remain whole. If we can figure out a place that we can work together on this, make a win-win for both the county and I. If I wait until the county takes over, I can get to shysters, and I hate lawyers, I hope none of you guys are lawyers.
He's a good guy.
But I talked to them, and they told me what I could get. And I went, wow, that isn't right. So on my own, trying to make my life simpler, knowing that you will take over this property in a year or so, and I'll be a caretaker, I'm trying to move the time up.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
So if you and I can come to a win-win number in between, I know I shot a high number. I was hoping that we could meet somewhere in between. I can remain whole so I can keep helping people in the county.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tobias, you have a question for him, sir, or you just have?
Madam Chair? Yes, I do. I wasn't expecting this. I appreciate this. I've been here, 6 years, and we've never had an applicant come up here in a bargaining, for something.
Well,
but
that's
with
what I was
but with
told.
your
I was
this is in my district. With your
Yes, sir.
discretion, a couple questions for Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper, I think you pointed out that you had some concerns with the appraisal.
I could have gotten others.
Okay, great. My question is you've mentioned some other things, but do you have another appraisal for this board to look at from a certified public appraiser?
No, I didn't.
You don't? Okay.
It
My
was
next
just
question is,
more money than I thought.
I think you probably looked at the Florida Today or probably have noticed that housing prices are on their way down as interest rates are going up. So
I think that will
so it's
level out.
Listen, I'm not an economist.
Neither am I.
There you go. Okay. I'm just
But,
going by the numbers
but I've
presented
got-
from us. So it's fair to say that prices of housing are largely coming down. My question is if we were to agree on, if you were to sell it through an appraisal process, would you have to pay real estate commissions?
Yes.
Okay. And traditional, it's 3% to buyer's agent, 3% to the seller's agent, plus, closing costs. So somewhere in the neighborhood of,
6.
8 or 9,
Yes.
Plus the fees that you would not have to, that the county would pay for. So that it would not be in that $185,000 amount. You would get that full 185. You do understand that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. That's all I had for Mr. Cooper, and I appreciate you showing up here, man. I love First, and I'm not going to be supporting this at all because you're way out in left field. You haven't provided us any other data.
Well,
but I love the
is,
fact that
I can't buy a
You-
3-bedroom rental in today's market at that figure.
that's not an appraisal, sir. And we're using public
Well,
dollars, so we have to go
understand.
by that. So Madam Chair, thank you, Mr. Cooper. I really appreciate it. You did a very good job.
Commissioners-
Just because I disagree.
Commissioners, I'm sorry.
Sorry, can I just had a
You
couple
can.
points to go.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you,
Stay
sir.
close by, just in case. Stay close.
Yeah,
No.
just
I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
Just stay close right up there in case another commissioner has a question. But I
Oh.
think Commissioner Tobias is done making you nervous, so.
no, you did very well. You did very well. I got a couple more things, and then we'll go. We're millions and millions and millions of dollars away from completing this project, whether we do it whole hog or whether we cut it into thirds. So just to be clear, this is not the one final remaining piece. We're seeing market declines. We don't know what that appraisal will be when Mr. Cooper decides to sell. And I think accepting this value at above appraisal with no number attached to it sets a very terrible precedent for the other properties out there that will inevitably come to us and ask for thousands of dollars more than the appraised value. Again, if this was the last one, that would be one thing, but I don't know the exact number of properties, but it's not just a couple, it's quite a bit and we don't have the money to cover all of that to go forward with that. So while I greatly, greatly appreciate Mr. Cooper for coming up here and fighting for his property, without any definitive numbers. After I hear this, will most likely make a motion to select option 3 and reject the offer.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Zonka?
Yes, I had a question for staff. Do we have an approximate, and I know that it would kind of be a guess for you guys, but as far as condemning through eminent domain, what that would cost us in attorney's fees, if say, or do we have at least an estimate of those additional dollars?
I think Mr. Richardson would like to address that.
Okay.
It's very difficult to know right now because we wouldn't be condemning this property at the current time. It would be sometime down the road before we'd be looking at land acquisition. So a lot of it would obviously depend on where the appraisal comes in at the time we would be doing that. So this is an early opportunity.
I'm not looking for a total number, just an
Right.
approximate, range of.
Typically, let's say if we were talking about the current appraised value and if we offered appraised value and they didn't accept that, it might cost us in the range of, if we offered 185, a likely outcome is that ultimately it might cost us between 215 to 285 to acquire it through eminent domain, with much of that going to the seller's attorneys. And then we'd have the opportunity cost and time involved in litigating it.
Okay, and in the past, I know we've paid over appraised value in the past.
For this particular project, we have not. We've
Okay.
acquired, in the order of 30 properties, there is about 90 in total, whether it's a full take or a partial take.
I know we've done it in other areas, but just not for this project. Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, I'm comfortable not doing this right now and then coming back later, because we're not in a hurry on it. So someone want to make a motion, or what y'all's thoughts? I'm out of lights.
Madam Chair.
Sir?
Make a motion to select option 3 and reject the offer.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Feltner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. We are going to come back to J2 later, Commissioner Tobias. I'm trying to get through the, thank you, sir. So we're going to go to item J4. I do have the supervisor of election here just to free up his time as well.
This is how they do it in Tallahassee.
No.
They see 'em sitting in the front row.
Hi, Mr.
Good morning,
Bobanek. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. The purpose of our agenda item that we have here is to request a carry forward of excess funds from fiscal year 21 and 22 of a balance of $555,925 into our current fiscal year 22-23. The purpose of this is twofold. One is to implement recommendations by the Department of Homeland Security to implement security measures for the front of our election support center. Many of you have served on the canvassing board and know our election support center was really never designed to house the public due to recent legislative mandates. We have an increased presence of public for public meetings and election observation. In addition to this, we also are requesting money to move our server rack, which is still located here in the Veer office, where we originally used to conduct tabulation, and move that over to the election support center. And that's our request. I'm happy
Thank
to
you,
answer any
sir.
questions.
I'm sure we all were briefed by you before. Commissioner Tobias, sir, your light's on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Bobanek. I am in support of this under 2 conditions, so I'd like to go over those. Are you willing to commit to establish that the 2022-2023 baseline budget, the adopted budget, and should not include this amount being carried forward?
That is correct.
Okay. And secondly, do you commit when developing the fiscal year 2023-2024 request that the supervisor election should not exceed the 2022-2023 baseline budget by the lesser of 3% or the change in CPI?
I don't know that I can commit to that right now, simply because the budget year that we're going to be working on will consist of really 3.5 elections, which is the most elections we have. We go through 4-year cycles. So we have a November municipal election, we have a March presidential preference primary election, which only happens every 4 years, the August primary election, and then we have approximately a quarter to a third of the cost of the general election all occurring in the budget year that we're going to be working on. Of course, like my predecessor, we want to be good stewards of taxpayers' money. We apply for any grants that we obviously have available to us, which we're in the process with right now with the state. But until I get into the actual budget design process, especially since it's my first one, looking at a lot of the unfunded mandates that might come out from the legislature this year, there's a lot of talk about additional legislation, election-related legislation. So once we get into that, I can pledge that we will have the most cost-effective budget that we can possibly have.
Madam Chair, I appreciate that, but we're under mandate to come in, regardless of extraneous factors, to come on in that 3%, or whichever is less. And I appreciate you trying to do that, but without making that commitment and asking for a carry-forward budget, it's very difficult that you don't, which is a great idea, you don't spend money, the money that you're allotted, and you're asking to use that in the next budget, but then asking for even more, plus that $500,000 is a little hard to stomach, that you won't come in under that 3%. The same 3% that we all, unless 4 of 5 of us are willing to do it. I've never voted for it. But I do appreciate you coming forward. And if you come under that 3%, I greatly appreciate that. But since you're not willing to make that commitment, and you've been very clear as to why, I unfortunately can't
And I would
support
be
it.
more than happy to do my absolute best, but until I get into the budget process, I don't want to guarantee something then that have to change.
I greatly appreciate it. Just want to be clear as to why will be voting against this.
Thank you.
Any other lights, commissioners? Are you trying to push your light? Mr. Bobanek, I'm going to support this, especially since we're not using this as carry forward with baseline. And I do know that you're getting your grounding right now, and it's really hard to understand how you're getting a budget going. And for you to say a certain thing right now, I think would be irresponsible. But I do appreciate the fact that you're going to do your best to try to keep that as low as you can. We had some discussions about some items, and you're already willing to look at those things and to move places where they should be and try to fix the items you have to cut costs. So I appreciate that greatly. So I'm going to need a motion on this, but I will support it with Commissioner Tobias' first item, but I can't support it with item 2, with being responsible to what he has to do. Commission?
I would just say, it's impossible for you to know what's going to come down from the state. So I think that you would be disingenuous if you could have a crystal ball and say that they're going to send you a bunch of unfunded mandates that are going to exceed the 3%. So I understand where you're coming from.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being genuine about it.
I do too.
All right.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
With the first item not to do the roll forward, ma'am?
Yes, with the first item not to do the roll forward.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-1. The Commissioner Tobias in opposition. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to a great election season.
So am I.
Hopefully, all my guys win. All right, we are going to now move to, sorry, guys, give me just a second here. Item 3 was removed. We're going to move to the I items. And Mr. Ian, are you here with some ballots, and so that we can vote for you on this item, sir?
Which one was that?
That's if we choose
I-1.
that's if we need the ballot. I think there was options in there.
Oh, yeah, if anybody's got a motion already to assign someone, we can do that as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. This item is for our Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. It is a state-mandated board to receive state housing initiatives partnership funds. It has 11 members, which are prescribed by statute. Each member sits in a specific category. This position is for the one category that is an advocate for affordable housing. You have 4 volunteers who are applying for that position. We have in front of you a revised ballot, which we tried to make similar to a ballot you're going to see later. It's a ranked ballot. It will have your name already on it for you. And we ask you to vote 2 points to your number 1 selection, 1 point to your number 2 selection. We will then tally it and bring it back to you with the results.
Okay, so 2 points to our first selection, 1 to our second selection, and the rest are zeros, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Unless the commission already wants to make a motion to approve
Correct.
somebody.
The agenda item does provide options. Ballot is one.
All right.
The board obviously can just choose someone if they want to, and then you could direct us to go back out and re-advertise.
Wonderful, we might make this simple. Commissioner Zonka?
I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you all had a chance to look at the application. So with that, I chose Vinnie Richardson. So I would like to make a motion to appoint Vinnie Richardson.
Okay, I have a motion for Mr. Richardson. Do I have a second right now? Okay. Commission, any other choices? We're going to turn in the ballots. All right, let's pass them down.
I think that's right? I think you have to
You
put
voted
2 on here.
twice.
No, I'm not.
You have to put another one on there.
Ranked ballot, so I just voted for one.
Okay.
Rank balance is liberal.
Oh, jeez.
That's what the liberal station
John's got to be difficult.
Okay, so he's going to come back in a little while with that. Okay, so we're going to move to item, let me see what the next one was. I2.
Good morning, Commissioners. Item I2, the Solid Waste Management Department is requesting the board to approve and authorize the chair to execute the amended and restated landfill gas purchase contract, amended and restated lease contract, and a lease resolution with Brevard Energy LLC. This is a continuation from October 11th, when the board directed solid waste staff to assemble a negotiation committee to work out modified terms to the contract and the lease. I believe we have reached a mutually advantageous situation. The major bullet points in the modifications can be found in the agenda report. We do have some representatives of Brevard Energy that are available if you have any other questions. Thank you.
I'm doing it, yeah. I'm going to do it right after this one. Okay, Commission, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Feltner, second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0. All right, we are going to move the ILS one next, item I6. I'm trying to get all the ranking ones done as quickly as possible. Adrian, you're keeping track of all the things I'm getting through, right?
You guys have your sheets done?
Do you guys have your voting already? You can pass them out. Mr. Jordan removed himself from the list, so if you have him chosen, if you would remove him, that would be good. Thank you. Oh, do you have these two here? Okay.
I think so. Is that correct?
Just, yes, business and science. Yes, sir.
It's 2, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me make sure I got both of yours in. Okay. Okay, Commissioner Tobias, you passed 2 down already? Thank you.
Oh, one more.
Okay, and while we're looking at data for that, we're going to go ahead and move to item I3. One more. I think that goes later. She can have sorted out. They're giving us a lot of people to vote for. It takes a little time. Item I3 is the Building and Construction Advisory Committee. Commissioner Tobias, I'll let you go ahead and talk while we're setting up, sir.
Thank you very much. On January 10th, the board decided to take a further look into dissolving the Building and Construction Advisory Committee, the Historical Commission, and the Marine Advisory Council. As a side note, I strongly disagree with keeping the arts in public places, but I'll not mention that again because, according to Commissioner Goodson, we are willing to give up somebody's whole key to life, they should enjoy it. So you have Commissioner Goodson to thank for that one. I need to thank staff for the ongoing conversations in my office. I'd like to thank the CAO for their timeliness and with the dissolution documents. And again, we have the unique opportunity to decrease government. These are the three boards can be absorbed by staff, and you can see by the one-pagers I've attached, we can go over them separately. But before I do that, and I appreciate the chair jumping all over the place on this, I'm still in shock by one of the votes that came previously. So I'd like, with your permission, Madam Chair, to ask Mr. Goodson which of these boards is most important to him, because these are pennies compared to the amount of savings that was just provided.
Tell me just a second. Commissioner Goodson, if you want to answer that.
All of them. All of them are important. These people serve for no money, and they're not government. If you want to call this a governing board, the only government on this board is the county staff. And, they serve, if they do one good thing for our community, I would say they're warranted. And so therefore, all of them are important.
Madam Chair, again, I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock for a vote that I think probably the EDC is in shock as well. And as a matter of importance, that's up in the stars. And I strongly disagree with what Mr. Goodson had to say. There are numerous historical commissions out there that can do this. And I'll tell you, the one person that's going to, or the group that's going to get shortchanged on this is my office and staff that's worked very diligently on this stuff. But I want to thank not only Mr. Goodson, but Mr. Feltner over there, and Mr. Goodson. I'm going to give you a pass here, because I greatly appreciate your support on the more important thing. And had I known that, I wouldn't have wasted my staff's time, I wouldn't have wasted these people's time, and I wouldn't have wasted your time. So, Madam Chair, I would like to pull item I3, I4, and I5 from the agenda. I'd like to make a motion to pull item I3, I4, and I5 from the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Commissioner Goodson, I think you're trying to say something.
Well, I'll wait till that vote goes, and then
Okay.
Okay.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Commissioner Goodson, you have the
Yeah,
floor, sir.
I would just like to comment and compliment you on your wisdom and all, and you are extremely intelligent, and but don't ever give me a
Going a little
pass.
far
but-
there, but-
Yeah, well, but don't ever give me a pass. At my age, I kind of like those things when you beat me up and spank me. Okay.
I do want to mention, as the boards are on their way out of here, Commissioner Tobias, thank you for this. We spent numerous months before really compacting boards, making a lot of changes. So as far as doing much more changes, I was kind of at my point. But I do want to thank all the boards for all they do. And I do want to make this statement, because I don't think I was able to say this last meeting. But these boards probably save us a lot of money, because they help the staff with a lot of the things that staff has to do. So it might help save us one or two staff members down the road from some of the footwork that these boards do, especially the ones that are very qualified, and, well, they all are, but many are very qualified and professional people. So all of you here, you're going to get cut loose. I'm sure you're not going to have to turn in cards now and speak. I've got them. But thank you for all that you do, and you really are appreciated by us
Madam Chair.
very much. Commissioner Tobias,
I
hold
would like-
on just a second.
I'd like to make a note that I will not be bringing this up again under my tenure, so those folks don't need to worry about that. Madam Chair, I'd like to go one further on the record. I mean, at least get our seals date right. And the fact that the date is wrong still bothers me, but whatever. But I will not be bringing it up again during my tenure, Madam Chair.
Okay, and with that, we are going to move along back to item Ian, which is I-1.
Yes, Commissioners. So we tallied the votes from your
I
ballot,
won.
and we ended up with a
Once we
tie
voted.
between Mr. Klimkowski and Ms. Richardson. So we
Okay.
have a second ballot if you'd like to, or
I
the
would love
board-
that. Thank you. All right, one more time.
And this time, please just choose one candidate.
Just one. All right, and I bet you're able to tell us here in just a sec, right? So I'm gonna wait on you while you look.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Mr. Klimkowski has 3, Ms. Richardson has 2.
Okay, so Mr. Klimkowski, can I get a motion to affirm him? Motion by Commissioner Zonka. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Tabaya. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you for serving on the board, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Do we have ills items ready? You ready, ma'am? No, okay. We have a little complication.
I need you to rank which is number 1 and which is number 2.
Okay, sorry.
So is this your number 1
First choice, yes. Right. At least I wasn't alone messing up.
The smart guy.
He's going to have to rank it now, too.
Smart guy.
Okay, so the cards I had in for the Historical Commission, that agenda item's gone away. So if you want to speak, you'd have to fill out a public comment card after this, just so you guys know. And we are going to come back to the ills again, and I think that takes care of all of our I items currently. So we are going to move to item J2, correct? Okay, item J2. That's you, Commissioner Tabaya, I believe, the solar items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brevard County Solar PV permitting fee waiver will expire on February 24th, 2023. On February 25th, 2020, you, Madam Chair, expressed concerns about potential cost increase, and you were 100% correct on this one. However, I think pointing out that an increased cost is good twofold. Number one, there's more than $500,000 in fee savings for constituents, and number two, more than 2,400 permits have been pulled, showing a strong forward motion to clean energy and reducing negative environmental impacts and energy independence. And this is extremely important to me, so I suggest that we implement some parameters so we can maintain the viability of this program. I'd like to thank staff for helping come up with this so we can encourage this great type of behavior, but again, putting some safeguards in it. So number one, excluding commercial, this should be focused in our residential. So most applications are residential in nature. However, commercial projects come at a much higher cost, therefore a much higher permitting fee. So these waivers are more likely to be unnoticed by 10 builders in such high dollar projects, but have a bigger hit on the planning and development budget. So that's number one, exclude commercial projects. Number two is put a cap on the amount waived per permit. And the amount that I came up with was $250. And let me tell you why. That 71.6% of permits would be completely waived. And that $250 permit would cover the bulk of housing projects or projects on houses. anywhere in the neighborhood of, depending on the amount per kilowatt, $70 to $150 a month. So the bulk of houses would qualify. And number 3, and this is an important one here, staff brought this one up. Many applicants may not be aware that they qualify for a waiver because the contractor is issuing the permit and does not necessarily remit the savings to the homeowner. So my initial thought was we refund an amount to the homeowner. However, utilizing a refund system would cause all sorts of problems. It's not just sending a check. There's a whole bunch of state fees and surcharges and record keeping that make that an impossibility. So how do we rectify this by making sure that the business is not only collecting it, but then not remitting that? And twofold, we require that the builder check a box stating that they will remit the savings created by the permit fee to the homeowner. And then following up, upon completion of the permit, the county sends a letter mailed to the homeowner thanking them for their use of clean energy and informing them that by board's decision that they should have received a rebate in the amount of that permit savings. So they're aware of it. Not to say that the contractors aren't doing this, but this double checks that the homeowner is aware. And finally, number 4, I'm not going to screw up twice. So instead of making this in perpetuity, I would like to put in those parameters and have this come back to the board in a year to see how putting these safeguards in has an impact on this program. So these 3 changes to the fee waiver plus the year, I think, can make this good program viable, saving constituents money and furthering good environmental decisions at the same time. So that's the idea, Madam Chair. I'm open to suggestions.
Thank you, Commissioner Tobias. I appreciate it. I think that got a little complicated in the process, and I understand your thinking. But I would be more apt to either remove it, because I think we're starting to get more towards there, and it's like almost $250,000 cost last year, and we have to absorb that somewhere. And it has substantially increased. So I think either people are getting more prone to doing solar, or that it's just the incentive that's helping. I don't know. I guess we'd have to look at data, but I do see the increases. I would be willing to just go ahead and just do a split on it, that we would split the permit costs with people applying for it, and that would get us back into the year before's dollar amount, unless it keeps going. If it keeps going up, I'm going to be in favor of removing it, because everybody else has to start covering these fees somewhere, so we're absorbing it. So that's what I would support, sir, if you're okay there. But I do appreciate you bringing this back again. I was actually not going to do it again this year, just to be able to cover staffing costs, because it is starting to become a very good, reliable energy source program. But that's where I am. Do I have anybody else that has any comments? Commissioner Goodson, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, how would you treat it if the contractor pulled the permit for the homeowner, and then the contractor said, I figured that $250 in his price? You always have that unscrupulous contractor who's not going to give away any money. So how would you approach that?
Madam Chair?
Sir.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a good question. But that would be a conversation between the contractor and the homeowner. If the homeowner saw that $250 deduction when they got the letter in the mail at the end of the project saying that there was a $250 permit fee waiver, the homeowner would be aware of that because of the conversation they had with the contractor, that $250 would come off the top. What I'm concerned about is the contractor either not remitting that or not deducting that and just keeping that. I'm not saying that's happening, but we can safeguard that with one letter that would go out at 50 cents a letter or whatever the heck it is. It would cost about $1,000.
Okay. One more question.
You're on, sir.
Okay. This would be to staff. If you were to do this letter, all over the county to every homeowner that asks for solar power and asks for a credit, what kind of expense or what kind of number, or do you have this availability of staff to do that now? Frank, I guess, or somebody code? Here he comes.
Okay, why he's coming up, just another thought on that it is a competitive market and the builder has got to get prices down anyways. So if we're getting what we're trying to do is solar going in, if the builder's willing to do it, it's still a plus for what we're trying to do for clean energy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I think we're getting it a little complicated, so.
Good morning, Board. I believe that the agenda item is for a resolution that would come back to you. I don't have the cost that it would be for the letter. Not that I believe that, Commissioner Tobias' estimate is close, but we don't have a specific cost. We could look at that and bring it back with the resolution if the board was to go forward with this, and any other information that you would want to see.
We just spent 2 or 3 months talking about costs on boards, and now we're adding costs to another agency to do something, but it is for the best. I'll agree. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so Commission, I need, if I could, I'm going to call
Madam,
the question.
I'm sorry, just one response
Okay.
there? Just to put this, I estimate $1,000. In 2022, according to P&D's numbers, there were 1,081 permits pulled. So, and we collect, hopefully, I've asked, we collect the homeowner's address. So I estimated, with postage and time and all that stuff, $1 per. So it will be in that $1,000 range. I just don't want you to think I was making up a number willy-nilly. There were, again, 1,081 pulled in 2022.
Okay. Commissioner Zonka, ma'am.
And I'll just say, again, we talk about money lost to the county to provide services. This is money lost to staff, and oftentimes homeowners are granted special tax incentives through their state and through the government. So I don't know why they need local government to subsidize permits. So I'll have to think about this when this comes back, but I don't know that I'm going to be in favor of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sullivan, it has to be turned in through the back.
We've already.
Okay.
Can you do public comment? Okay. Do it for public comment. I mean, turn it. I'm sorry. It has.
We're already in this item.
The card has to go to the back. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Can I get Mr. Goodson or Mr. Feltner on this? Because if I don't have support on this one, we won't even waste staff's time anymore with this. We'll just end it the way it is.
Oh, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it.
Okay. Commissioner Goodson has no problem moving it forward?
None at all.
Commissioner Feltner? Okay. So I guess if you make a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move to extend the solar PV permit waiver program for 1 year and to direct staff to draft a resolution including the following new criteria. Number 1, applies to residential applicants only. Number 2, caps the waiver amount at $250 per permit. Number 3, send a letter to the homeowner that their permitting fee has been waived. And number 4, comes back to the board in 1 year for renewal. That's the motion, Madam Chair.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 I'm sorry, mine's a nay. 4 ayes and a nay with Commissioner Pritchett. Thank you, and it passes. All right, we are moving to, the ills. Are we ready for ills? Okay, do you have the candidates then?
So for the science, the 4 seats for science that the commission ranked, number 1 ranked was Lisa Toland. Number 2 ranked was John Shepard. Number 3 ranked was Mary Ann Civil. And number 4th rank was Elizabeth Becker.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we also have the TDC recommended appointment, which is Malcolm McLuth. And then for the business, finance, or real estate applicants, we need 2 people to seat. Your number 1 selection was Mr. Swan, and there was a four-way tie for the second person to fill the business, finance, or real estate.
Okay.
And the four-way tie was between Miller, Neal, Stern, and Sullivan. So I have another ballot sheet that I will pass out.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and
Make a
explain.
motion to approve the others. Just to knock them out.
Okay, a motion to approve the ones that we just clearly approved.
I'll second.
I mean, can I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion
Yep.
for that.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Zonka,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Feltner. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0, and we're going to vote
So
again for
in this sheet,
second
Commissioners, if you could,
business person.
I think the simplest way to do this would be to pick the two, number two is your preferred person. So pick one person and put a number two next to that person.
Okay, and then everybody else gets a 0.
No, there's got to be 2 twos, right?
1, 2.
1, 2?
1, 2.
If you win this, you're going to win Mega Millions
1, 2.
this weekend.
What about a 1? Is there a 1?
Okay, a 2 is your very favorite person. Your next number 1 will be the person you care about next. Do you want a 1
Oh,
somewhere?
yeah, man, let me do.
And then everybody else is a 0. Gonna come back?
Okay.
Yeah, they don't need to come back. Okay. It's going to take 2 seconds.
Okay, I'm gonna let you take 2 seconds. Did I get through the rest of the agenda items except public comment?
You're a rock star.
The way you played it, yeah, you won.
Thank you.
I'm all for it.
Okay, I think I got us. Okay, we're gonna wait for the ills assignments.
Take 5 minutes.
I got us, okay, just for you to take off. Okay. And we'll call break.
John, are you still dating the doctor? Weren't you? Good, good. You ever see old Rich or not?
I tried to.
That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do you have a winner, ma'am?
Okay, and the votings for the second position for the business, finance, and real estate is Miller with 7 total
All right,
points.
congratulations. Can I have a motion to affirm him? Motion by Commissioner Zonka. Second by Commissioner DeBaya. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0, and thank you to everybody who applied for these positions.
So clarification to the clerk, that would be Swan and Miller.
Yes,
For
ma'am.
the business and finance
Thank
and
you.
real estate.
Thank you. We are going to move to public comment in just a minute, but before we do, we're going to have a break in a second. But Commissioners, we have, Commissioner Zonka has to leave for an important appointment. She is a doctor, so we have things that we have to let her go and take care of. Before we do, though, I want her in on this discussion. Yeah. We are looking soon with our county manager. We're going to have to either go out and look or find a way to keep Mr. Abate. And from the process we've been through since I've been on this board of trying to ascertain the right person and not have more expenses come up, Commissioner, I'd like to see what your thoughts are. I would love to negotiate something with him past the time period. What this means is he would have to come out a drop and lose a whole bunch of money. But I talked to him earlier, and he loves our county enough, he'd be willing to negotiate some ideas. So I want to get y'all's thoughts, if you'd be willing to allow him to come back with some ideas of I know it's going to cost him more money down the road, but ways that we could negotiate with him to keep him past the amount of time with the drop. He'd have to lose a lot of money dropping out of it, lose money dropping out of drop. But I want to see what your thoughts are. Commissioner Zonka, is that a?
I think that's an old light, but I'll just
Okay.
comment. I've had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Abate about this as well, and I know he was not seeking a higher salary or there's no secret trick or anything like that. I think he's committed to our county, so I would be amicable to that. I'd be open to that.
Okay, Commissioner Tabaya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to give the chair authority, probably a lot easier than having all of us negotiate with him, for you to negotiate with him and bring a work product back to the board to look at.
Okay,
I'll second that.
got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Goodson, are you trying to say something?
I was just going to ask, Does anybody have a time period of this? I mean, like, how much longer do you wish him, or we wish him?
I want to keep him through the time period I'm here. I don't know about you guys, but it'd be a strong advantage to keep him as long as he would work. He's that good. So it's up to y'all. Again, down the road, it's Commissioner Zonk always said this one time, you're always 3 votes away from them being unemployed. So it's the county manager's job to really serve the commission, and what we're trying to do as elected officials. So did that answer any of your questions, sir? But did you have someone else? Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0. County manager, looking forward to what you can come back with for us. And thank you for being willing to make that sacrifice. We truly appreciate it. I am going to call a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back and finish the meeting. Thank you.
I didn't take my cup home? Yeah, it's right there. You wouldn't even take it home.
watching you. Because I know in a couple of years.
You will be. You will be.
Oh, I don't believe that.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting back to order. And we're going to move into the public comment section. As I call your names, if you would come up, you have 3 minutes to speak. If you would just state your name and your address for the record, that would be delightful. I have Mr. Gregory Miller. Come on for it, Mr. Miller. After Mr. Miller, I'm going to have Barry Monaghan. I hope I got that right, but go ahead, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to address the changes which are being employed with the Brevard County campgrounds. And I want to do it from an analysis standpoint, financially first.
I'm sorry, sir. Commissioner asked for your address as well, sir.
Okay, it's 861 Mona Brook Road, Norton Shores, Michigan.
Thank you.
Snowbird. Okay. Anyway, I did some research last night to look at how taxes are structured in the county of Brevard. We're looking at a price increase to camp in the campgrounds in Brevard. And I can justify some increases because the county residents are probably paying taxes on property where we do not. Maybe incorporated into our lot rent, but it's not discrete. So anyway, I was looking at the taxes and how they're calculated. And this is from the website taxrate.org from Brevard County. And the tax rate here is 0.87 of 1% of the fair market value of a home, and the fair market value is $186,900. That translates into $1,618 property taxes a year for the resident of Brevard. If you look at that monthly, it's $135 a month. Now, if we translate that into what we're paying the residents are paying $807 to camp. We're paying $1,186, so we're paying $379 premium, much more than the people locally are paying. So if we're looking at equity, we're out of equity. So there's discrimination against us being on the outside by the amount of $379 we're paying as a premium. In addition to paying more taxes than they are in terms of our rent, we're also looking at a difference of how long or how much time we have to rent the property. We have 12 months to the day to book a site. Residents have 13 months to the day. So we're discriminated against our rent, and we're discriminated against the amount of time that we can book the site. Thirdly, economically, if we snowbirds are not coming in, the state of Florida has $40 billion of revenue coming into the state per year from tourism from people outside. Now, I don't have the breakdown how Brevard County shares in that, but nevertheless, there's going to be a significant amount of breakdown.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Tobias,
Sir?
I was going to ask, can we go, they're all on campground? Can you go?
This one's specific to Michigan.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sir, you said you were, I'm sorry, you're from Michigan, is that
Yes,
correct?
we're from Michigan.
Great, wonderful, wonderful state. Great education system. I think you know where I'm going with this one. University of Michigan, just to put this in perspective, okay? And also this got misconstrued out here. We didn't raise rates for residents higher than CPI, okay? So you're concerned out of state. So I want to pick Michigan because I've heard, you making complaints over and over and over again. This doesn't require too much fiscal analysis on this one. But assuming the University of Michigan would have decided I would have been a decent applicant, if I was in the state of Michigan, the tuition this year, 2021, 2022, would be $16,178. If I was, as I am, a Florida resident, that same tuition is $53,232. Now, I could go over Michigan State, but no one really wants to go to Michigan State. They want to go to University of Michigan. It's like Florida State, Sorry. My point is, I understand where you're coming from, but Michigan does the exact same thing to Florida. So I appreciate everyone's concern up here, but this is how we structure taxes, right? We give benefits to in-state, and we charge just cost to out-of-state. You do it as a Michigan resident to Florida residents. You're just now feeling it this way. Again, I appreciate your time, but I think it's disingenuous to come up and say that we're the only ones that do it, when in fact your state does it to a T. That's 3 times more. Someone who goes to Michigan would end up paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 more in tuition and get that same degree 4 years later. So I just want to put things in perspective, not only for the rest of this board, but certainly all the residents of Brevard that are listening. Your rates did not go up more than 3%.
Can I offer rebuttal, sir?
Nah, let's just go ahead and move on. Commission, I'm not going to let us talk anymore till we're done. That's okay. Till we're done completely public comment, and then we can make comments if there's something we need to say. Thank you, sir. Barry Monogram, do I have you, sir? And after that, Dami Cicerlo, sir.
My concern is
Name and address real quick. Your name and address real quick.
J. Barry Monahan, and my address is 411 Walnut Street in Green Cove. My concern is staying at Wickham Park, what they refer to as the Wickham Shuffle. I have seen people come in, spend one day in a spot, have to move over to the next site in one day. You are constantly moving. Sometimes you stay for a while, sometimes it's as short as a day. I would suggest that you people consider making part of the park for short-term visits, so that when there is an opening of, say, a month, and somebody comes in and wants to take 1 or 2 days in the middle, it means that other people have to move every other day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Domini? Thank you, sir. If you come out and help me with that name, I'd appreciate it.
How you doing? This is my 24th.
Name and address real quick.
What's that?
Your name and address very quickly.
Yes.
Will you say your name?
Dominic.
And your address?
1150 North New Street.
Melbourne, Florida.
Yeah, well, Melbourne is my other address here, Parkway.
Okay.
Okay, I've been coming to Wickham Park for 24 years now. I started out when it didn't have anything, and we were promised a lot of stuff, and we didn't get a lot of stuff. And I would like to be able to keep coming here. I'm 82 years old now, and I don't want to stop, but they're almost telling me I can't do it no more and coming to this great park. I have family in the area, and it's part of what our life is. I have a home up north, and I have an RV down here. That's basically what I'm telling you. That I think in the cost, of course, you doubled it for what we were paying, and but that's it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Lawrence Smith. And then Betty Bennett, you'll be next, ma'am.
Yeah, Larry Smith, Springfield, Ohio. And my concern, well, I wondered if you all considered writing a letter to your local businesses of the money that your new rules will affect. In a quick estimate, our group at Wickham would probably buy 1,000 meals outside on the market every month, times 5, times the cost of an average meal. We get medical procedures here. We have surgeries done here. I've had 2 myself. And the money that we bring in, we pay for maintenance on vehicles and our trailers. And it's quite an economic impact, I believe, we have to the county. And you've raised the rates, but the amenities, you haven't done a thing since I've come here in 16 years. We have a broken down corn crib that we maintain by for winter use by doing our tarps and so forth, but there's no swimming pool. The gentleman that came to talk to us about the changes said you went out to 40 campgrounds to try to line your fees, but if you go out and you look what you get for those same fees at those 40 campgrounds, they have large rec halls, they have swimming pools for your use. Wickham has none of these, and it just seems that it's an economic loss to the county, and it certainly impacts our life. And the fees are, like I say, probably acceptable as to average campgrounds, but the amenities that you provide is not in that price range for what you would pay. And that's mainly my concern, is the financial part of it, which you're going to lose, and of course how it affects us. Family and grandkids here we come down and spend the time with. And you have your 90-day limit, and I think the officials at Wickham we've talked to are quite surprised when we say, well, next year will be our last year. Why would we come back for 90 days? And I guess that's my concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Miss Betty Bennett. And then I have Claude Black. You're next. If you want to come towards the front, that would be great. Your name
Good
and your
morning.
address.
I'm Betty Bennett. I'm from Halstead, Pennsylvania. I just wanted to reiterate on Mr. Smith's points about how much money we come, how much money we spend down here. It's got to be advantageous to your economy down here. I'm just concerned, I think our major point is the 90-day having to come in and not be able to stay any longer than that and leave for 2 days, just so a resident can come in for 2 days and take that spot, and we're not even guaranteed to be able to come back in after the 90 days is my main concern. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, ma'am. Claude Black? And then I have Christine Gusky.
Good morning.
Name and
Madam
address.
Chairman, could
Name and
you
address.
call?
Name and
I'm-
address real quick.
Yes, my name is Claude Black, 561 Springdale Circle, Royston, Georgia. And I'd like to ask you to call Chris Gutsky to speak before me.
No, sir, if you would go ahead, she'll be next, but go ahead.
Well, she has some information to present to you that would be helpful before my presentation.
I can't do that.
Can't do that, all right. First of all, my wife and I appreciate the opportunity to come to Florida for the wintertime. I would, however, question Commissioner Tobias's analogy here. I just finished 25 years at a private college, and we do not charge Florida residents more to come there than anybody else. And Georgia does not charge Florida campers who come up during the summer more than kind of a discretionary rate there. So that analogy really doesn't work very well. And also, for the purposes of my presentation, I'd like to ask you to reconsider the rate increase. As my next speaker will point out to you, some extensive research, these increases were far greater than the cost of any of the other private or commercial campgrounds in the area. Also, what I'd like to ask you to consider, as the other speakers have said, is the 90-day restriction. Most other private campgrounds do not have that reservation, that one can stay as long as one wants. So I'd ask you to reconsider that. Based on the information you're going to get from the next speaker, look at this rate increase. It's just 118%. It's just way over the top, and puts this fee way outside of the many of the other commercial and private campgrounds in the area. And also, I'd ask you to reconsider, for the convenience of people who drive thousands of miles to visit Florida, the 90-day restriction. That works a tremendous hardship on these folks. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, sir.
Madam, I'd like to give you this. Also, it has the information that I want to present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Christine Gusky?
May I give you each something?
You can set it up here and I'll pass it
Okay.
down. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. Hello, my name is Christine Gusky. My winter home is Titusville, Florida. My summer home is Michigan, Emmett, Michigan. And I wanted to first ask if anyone to raise their hand if they're
Ma'am,
from...
I'm sorry, I can't have you. You have to
Oh.
speak to the chair. We can't do
Sorry.
that, but go ahead.
Can anyone raise their hand
No,
that's
if-
here to
we
support?
recognize her here, but if you
Okay.
go ahead and, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, at the last meeting, many of us spoke of the changes in the length of stay, reservation policy, and the increase in fees. The discount for stays 30 days or longer was also eliminated. That's something that we haven't really discussed. The price increase is more substantial due to this elimination because our rate, which has, as expected, it has slightly increased each year. We have previously paid $18.75 before tax with the discount, and our new rate would be between $43 and $45 a day, which is a considerable increase. That's because of the no discount. We told you how much we treasure our winter home and what we add to the community and economy of Brevard County.
Let me get you. You
Okay.
accidentally hit the off button. Hold on. You're on.
Attached is a list of local campgrounds in the area with prices and other information. As you see, the new rates for Brevard County parks are much higher.
Are you tapping that button accidentally by any chance?
I don't think so, maybe.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
We do realize that a price increase is necessary, but we do ask that you please reconsider the amount of that increase or bring back the discount for stays longer than 30 days, and also to reconsider the length of stay and reservation policy. And I have 39 seconds, so I do just want to say to Commissioner Tobias, I think the state of Michigan they do subsidize, they give money to U of M for that. And as far as I know, Brevard County doesn't give, to make up for the non-residents. And I don't think Brevard County gives money to make up for the non-residents, I think.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Robert Abbott?
Good morning. My name is Robert Abbott from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Or I'd say Onalaska, Wisconsin, but you'd never heard of it. Many of my compatriots here have already expressed a great deal of my sentiment, so I'll address just a couple of things. Mr. Tobias, you're talking about Michigan State and its wonderful education. That's great. They offer the amenities to support that, as does Florida State here. The amenities, and I'll speak specifically to Wickham Park because that's where I have my experience, are sad. The restrooms are way beyond compare. Hammock has way nicer restrooms than Wickham Park. There is no pool. I don't care about that. But let's address one really important thing to me, and that's security in the campground. Have you looked at the theft reports out of Wickham Park from the last couple of years? The amount of property that has been stolen because there is no security on that park? Have you considered that? Do you know that there is a family currently being terrorized and vandalized by one individual who waltzes in and out of the park day and night anytime he wishes to? That's not security. That's not keeping your customers safe. Now, I'll conclude with just one other thing. Most of the, quote, snowbirds who come down here are retirees. We are on a fixed income. What has happened to that fixed income over the last few years with all the inflation? Another inflationary price increase is outrageous. All we would ask is that you subtly raise the prices if you're going to project it out over many years and say, we're getting up to this level at this point in time. Great, it gives us the opportunity to make better decisions. If you would also consider the possibility of, by the way, why hasn't the park been expanded? You've got tons of room in that area to put in new campgrounds. We've been told they're coming in. There's a security pad that was put in 3 years ago. No security there, but there's a pad put in. But why don't you consider having part of the campground for long-termers and others for short-termers? That way the people who got to come in for the weekend soccer game have Saturday and Sunday. My question would be, too, these people who are coming in from the county aren't going to stay for any extended periods of time. Even if you're doubling the rates on them and they come in for the weekend, that's covering only 4 days of your 7-day revenue. The park's going to sit empty most of the rest of the time as it does in the summer. I'll finish with one thing. The staff and the maintenance people at Wickham Park are outstanding, and I hope you give them a great deal of credit. They're wonderful people to deal with, and I thank you. You have tough decisions. I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Commissioner, that's the end of those cards. Did you have any comments now? Mr. Goodson.
If you're if you're watching the state right now, the Senate is going through the same thing with their state parks. They're making them more friendly to taxpayers' use as non-resident use. Wherever it will go, I don't know. But I definitely hear your concerns, and of course, I'm not going to the University of Michigan at my age, you know. They can't win the ball games, but hopefully we can come to some agreement that everybody will like. I don't know if we can or not, but thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mary Ellen, did you have anything you wanted to add to this, ma'am? Or are you good?
I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay. First of all, I want to welcome you guys all here. I'm so glad that you're able to come here and enjoy the community. I think part of the thing that we had to get reframed, government's not in the business of residential, and somehow I think if we get too long-term, we're actually setting up residential communities. That's really not something we should be doing. I do still have heartburn with doing competition with the private sector. There's plenty of people out there trying to earn a living by owning these properties and renting them. So that's kind of where we have to weigh this. We had the same problem with golf courses in the past and perhaps airports. So I'm probably not likely going to vote for a long-term stay because I think that should be getting out more in the private sector. I think as far as the county parks, they're for people to enjoy for a small period of time. And as far as the cost, we had to raise costs because it's costing us more money, and we can't put that on the backs of the homeowners here. So everybody's got to kind of pay their fees. Maybe if we come back later and inflation goes down and things get cheaper, who knows? But as of right now, I was probably fairly comfortable with these adjustments, considering right now with what we have. I do hope you're able to still come and enjoy it or find a place where you're comfortable staying. I hear all your thoughts, and my heart goes out to you because you're the nicest people that show up to this, and I appreciate it so much. But thank you for coming, and I'm going to move on to the next comment card unless, Mr. Feltner, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. So thank you for coming. Mr. Larry Stewart, sir. If you guys would wait about 5 minutes before you leave, I got 2 more public comment cards, then we can continue the meeting quietly. Sir, if you'd state your name and address.
Good morning, it's Larry Stewart, lifelong resident of Scottsmore. I don't have an address currently, primarily because of the position taken by this board, mostly Commissioner Pritchett and Public Works staff. February will make 2 years that I sold my family's home to try to build a home on a piece of property. I was led to believe that I could get granted a waiver that is outlined within the Brevard County Municipal Code. There's 5 qualifying criteria for this waiver. I explained why I qualify for those criteria. I was made to appear before you guys in October of 21. In that meeting, Commissioner Pritchett demanded that I obtain engineering that is not made as necessary in this particular code. It's engineering that I will never be able to obtain. I just want to be granted the code as written and be able to build my family's home. Is there anything being worked on to make that happen?
Are you done right now, sir? You finished with your comment?
Well, I don't know. I'm asking for help here. I am homeless because of this board. I've done nothing wrong. I've given over 20 years of public safety service to this county as a firefighter EMT and as a Brevard County deputy. I'm no longer employed as either of those, but I feel like I'm being discriminated against, and I'm looking for some help here.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, I'm asking,
Sir,
while
all
I
I'm
still
going to
have
tell you,
time-
that day you came forward, I was going to vote no on the waiver, but I need you to get with county staff and figure out.
I've tried to get with county
Sir,
staff,
I tell you,
ma'am.
that's what you have to do. You're going to have to comply with those things or do the path you're doing. But I would have voted no for that waiver.
Well, what is the path that I'm doing?
You're going to have to get with county staff, or you've hired a lawyer to get with that and to figure out what you
So
can do
So I
legally.
paid an attorney. I assume he's working for me. I don't know. Maybe he's your guys' attorney. Commissioner Zonka stated in May that she reached out to him for advice during the time he was my attorney. That was just admitted in email. I'm just looking for some help here. I want to get granted the waiver as written in the code that's been granted for numerous others in the past. So I don't really understand why I'm being discriminated against on this. Thank you.
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores, Honorable Commissions. I am very concerned about the lagoon. I spoke at the Citizen Oversight Committee. So this is our seagrass, and as you can see, in 2021, it's continued to decline. Something happened in 2010, and there was some state changes. So our lagoon plan is focused on water nutrient level, and even where it's good, it continues to decline. So what is missing from the lagoon plan is pollution. And I've spoken before about the National Estuary Program and our ordinance references following that plan, which includes pollution. What the voters were promised was citizen oversight and audits. When you look at the Citizen Oversight Board, when you read the ordinance, what it says is that they evaluate projects, and then they reevaluate the performance of the projects and readjust the plan. The second part is not happening. Reading the plans, I looked through it, there's no performance data until this year. There's some on Grand Canal and Turkey Creek. When you look at those projects, they're not performing. When you read the plan, it says this is experimental technology. This is us developing science that we've been developing while we're doing it. I just want to say this. If you're investing in your own portfolio and you're going to put it in good performing investments. And the same thing for the lagoon. You want to put that lagoon tax into performing investments that are going to deliver. And the accountability on them not performing, the plan is not adjusted. And to put it in risky investments really concerns me rather than tried and true approaches like stormwater treatment areas, capturing that water. This is the lagoon plan that has been approved by the COC. Back in 2019 when the plan was presented, it was rolled back from 66% muck tax, okay? 66% back to 26%. A fudge number was put into this plan that changed the numbers. And when you remove the inflationary number, we've increased this year from 26% to 36% for what I call the muck tax. We didn't vote for the muck tax. We voted to clean up the lagoon. This technology is risky and has not developed science. We should be deploying more of what we were promised. We were promised, if you go back in the newspaper articles, we were promised AWT plant upgrades. We were promised infrastructure. We know infrastructure is a problem. We know in that time frame that we had huge amounts of sewage going to the lagoon. Please reject this plan and re-bring it back to the 26% muck. Thank you.
Good time for you guys to, if you want to sneak out, to sneak out. Now we're going to move to our board reports. I was giving you an opportunity to jump back in. Mr. Abate.
I have no report.
Okay, Mr. Richardson.
No report.
Commissioner Goodson. None, Madam. Commissioner Tabaya.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The IRSAC, I want to thank this board for granting the chair the ability to send letters to both the City of Melbourne and the City of Cocoa. And we heard back from the City of Melbourne. The City of Melbourne has signed off. So I want to start by thanking Mayor Paul Alfrey, Vice Mayor Mark LaRusso, Councilmember Tim Thomas, Councilmember Yvonne Minus, who was here last time, and I forgot to recognize her, and I think jumped right on it. Councilmember Rachel Bassett, Councilmember Mimi Hanley, Councilmember Julie Sanders. Thank you so very much. But it goes to City of Cocoa. The City of Cocoa doesn't have to do this, but 18 other cities have signed on to end a board that long since should be extinguished. I just want you guys to remember that, our partners in local government many times are not partners, and Cocoa is a darn good example. I wanted to blame this on the staff of Cocoa, but when the letter was sent from this board to each member of that council, it is clearly not a staff-driven thing. This is an elected official-driven thing. Again, the towers were built. They've been around. We're in fact upgrading them now. This should have been done so long ago, and the City of Cocoa won't sign that they want this board ended. Not a big deal one way or another. Just remember, many times they are not our friends. That being said, the chair was I'll end on a positive. The chair was very accommodating and allowed me to get something on the big screen in under the 24-hour period because it appeared in the Florida Today. If we could bring it up just a little bit. This is on the bottom section of the Florida Today, so I'd like to point out to my niece here, May Columba Tobiah, that you're on the bottom half of the Florida Today, not the top half. There are some murals. My wonderful sister-in-law, Dr. Colleen Tobiah, is the PTO president at Indy Atlantic Elementary and did an amazing job for the school getting donations put together and some wonderful artists. And so kudos to her for making art, which, Bethany in my office pointed out, art in public places. But this was private money that was put up here. This was not wasted public money. But either way, that's my little niece, May. And long after I'm gone, Brevard County, you've got some really wonderful, bright, young Tobias coming up. So I love you.
All right,
and the
you got one.
rest. Yeah, I'm sorry. They're much better. They had a much better dad, and mom.
Stephen's kids.
Stephen's kids, yeah, Dr. Tobiah. Anyway, thank you very much for granting me the exemption, and check out the Florida's Day front page.
Thank you, sir. Nice way to end for you today. Commissioner Feltner.
No report.
All right, and I have no report, and I'll call this meeting adjourned. Y'all have a great day.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.